Oh, hey, just out here in the garage working on a project for the grandkids. See, you see that there? Yeah. Time to spruce up the old red wagon again. Gets a little rusty after a while. So, back out in the garage. You know what this means. So, it's time for another train trip. Yeah, if you remember last time, we left off over in Grand Junction, Colorado, and I almost died on Mount Garfield. But that's another video you can see somewhere over there. Yeah. Anyway, so where we're heading this time. So we'll get to that later, but we're going to be combining train trip with another hike. This one. Before we go there, we should probably go back to this whole hiking thing. So after I survived Mount Garfield, I figured I could do more. So I began my process of training up, going from a few miles, 5 miles, 8 miles, 10 miles. Then finally, my son and I decided to go to Archer's Fork, southeastern Ohio, for a 14 and a half mile hike. So it was rough, it was long, but we made it and we survived. Almost. So a couple weeks later, I started to feel really bad, like a really bad flu where you have these aches, pains, and fatigue. So after 3 days, I finally went to the urgent care and they ruled out flu and COVID and said it's probably just, some kind of virus. Go home, sleep it off. So after about 9 days of feeling really horrible, I finally called the doctor. No, actually, urgent care back, and they said to call your doctor. So I called the doctor. My wife took me into the doctor, and she said, can't really do anything for you. Tests would take 3 days. Come back. Why don't you go to the emergency room? So we went to the emergency room. This sounds kind of bad, but at one point, as we were going to the emergency room, I was thinking maybe I had some kind of a stage 4 cancer, and weirdly, I was okay with that. Not that I had a death wish or anything, but what is it? 2 Corinthians says, "Absent from the body, presence with the Lord." And at that point, I felt so bad that would have been just fine. They performed, I don't know how many tests, dozens of tests. Couldn't find anything. They were thinking maybe they would do a spinal tap for meningitis. I said, no, not if you're guessing. So they admitted me the next morning, which it's a good thing that my wife was there. They were, asking more questions, trying to figure out what was going on. And my wife said, it's just not really like him. He's very active, hiking, and they kind of scratched their head like, hiking? Really? When's the last time you went? Told him about the Archer's Fork, and he said, well, we can run some tests for Lyme disease, but we're going to go ahead and start you on antibiotics while we're waiting on the test, which usually take a couple days. So lo and behold, 2 days later, I get the first result back, positive Lyme disease. The next day, they get the second one, Lyme disease. By that time, I'm 2 days into my antibiotics, starting to feel a little better. And I would say after a week, I was feeling much better. And a couple weeks later, I felt normal. So I guess the Lord wasn't quite done with me yet. So here we are on another adventure. I actually wasn't sure that I wanted to go hiking again. Obvious reasons. I didn't want to get Lyme disease again. But thanks to my daughter who introduced me to permethrin, and of course DEET as well, I got up the nerve to get through my PTSD and get out on a hike and build back up. And so here we are heading on a hike. More on that later. I had some inspiration on hiking, serious hiking, and then after the Lyme disease, getting back out on hiking. So there's a guy named James Appleton who does a Adirondack 46 of 46 Peak podcast, and that's where I really wanted to get out deeper into hiking and in the Adirondacks. But that's when I got Lyme disease and had to scrap that for the year. So when I was starting to get my feet back in, another hiking podcaster, Julie Jester Gerhardt, inspired me with her story of dealing through multiple foot surgeries and not being able to hike and finally being able to get out and the courage to do that. So it kind of motivated me to get past my PTSD and get back on the trail. So the one thing I will say is that my wife's not happy about this trip. It'll be okay. Well, that's about it for now. I guess I better get back to my project.